Hi, I'm Christopher Hein, and today we're going to talk about Hein's Basic 57. So please don't sue me, Heinz Ketchup. But these are my 57 techniques, with the exception of the Showman series that I use to teach my students formal Aikido. And we're going to talk about Ushiro, Ryokata. And so the three techniques I show from that are Iriminage, Kokyunage, and Aikiotoshi. Now again, it's not that there's tons of other techniques, right? And it's not that we don't do those techniques in the school. It's that in respect to this total list, if you know the totality of the list, you will learn the other bits of those other Ushiro, Ryokata, Dori techniques in other forms. And these are a little more quintessential for me, and I think they're learned best in this. So there's only three techniques for Ushiro, Ryokata, Dori. And again, not that that's all we teach, but just for the formal techniques. I'm going to get Josh over here. We're going to do work. Josh? All right, let's talk about Ushiro, Ryokata and the three forms that I consider the formal forms for it. I can't emphasize this enough. There are tons of perfectly acceptable, great Aikido techniques, but these three forms are pretty much the things that are like forms that you need to know that are unique in this. And understand this also comes from a bigger set of other stuff, and we've talked before about how Ushiro, Ryokata might happen, but you know, if we were talking about the Hadoki for Josh, right? Okay, so my basic Hadoki for Ushiro, Ryokata is to cut to the outside. That's my basic one, right? Now, when I do that, and let me go to the other side for you guys too so you can see. When I do that, I really want to pull this shoulder free and push this shoulder free, and that's my basic form. And that's going to be the simplest, easiest thing to do. When he's driving you on a line, it's going to be the easiest way to keep your balance and all this other stuff, right? Okay, now, if I choose to go to a direction and he shoots his arm out that side, I can't get out, right? So see, he's shooting his arm out, so he can't get out. So that enables me to have inside action, right? So I get this ude mawashi is what we call it, just to go around the arms. And that gives us inside action for that, right? Okay, now, if I'm doing those back and forth, I'm going to actually try to catch him in one of those, either turning to the outside or turning to the inside. But what he could do is he could pull me in really, really tight. And if he pulls me in really tight, I can't get those because I'm all stuck up here. So that's where our Kokyunage comes in. And then he could also shove me away really, really hard so I can't get either of those, and he's really strong. And that's where Aikiotoshi comes in, right? So that's my set for Hadoki that I use, and students get that pretty early. I expect you to see that at 7th Q. So you're going to get that pretty early. But then extensions of that is to get a full form, right? And so we have three for the full form. Okay, now we have Iriminage, which you don't see in the Hadoki, and the Iriminage is really hard to do. Kids are better at taking ukemi for this, not hard to do for Nage, easy to do for Nage, but hard to do for the adults because you have to have real flexibility in your arms and you have to have a pretty good grip. And so if you're really light, right, so the kids weigh, 70, 80 pounds, whatever, right, they could, just a little bigger, right? Can't be a jockey yet. But anyway, so the kids are light, so their grip's more than adequate, and they're usually really flexible, so it's easy for them to stay on this. But most adults, you'll break free before this. So I attempt my outside turn, right? Now, as I do that, I feel that he's going to stay stuck with me, so I'm going to shoot all the way around it, right? Now, most people right here will break, right? So when I go like this, most people are going to break free. That's just the way it's going to be. But some people who are flexible will manage to stick on, and they can stick on all the way to this irimi position, right? And you see, Josh doesn't have the flexibility for it. I don't anymore either. But if they could really stay stuck, the irimi position is what comes out of that. Now, we have an iriminage there because if they manage to stick on that long, their balance is going to be shot, and so that is the thing to do. But if you're just worried about clearing grips, then you get there and you go, oh, what do I do? He's still holding on. It's like, well, you just iriminage them is what you do. It's really simple, but that's why that is one of the forms that we use. Okay, then the other two are included in the Hadoki, but they're also full forms and they're really important for this, and that is the Kokyunage where he pulls me in really tight, right? And so he's done most of the work here. He pulled me in really tight. So all I'm doing is stepping behind him and trying to find an imbalance in there in that tightness, okay? And the full form is just simply he pulls in, I go in, boom, Kokyunage. Okay, and the Aikiotoshi, he drives me forward, I dive down, I pull and cut right back towards him, and I make an Aikido toshi in that, right? And so we call Aikido toshi anytime that the Aiki action, so what he's doing and I match with it, is what makes him fall down. So in that he drives me and I go with it and he falls down. So that's the Aikido toshi. So those are the 3 forms I show for Ushiro Ryokata. Understand that's coming to students at 3rd Q after a long time of developing the Hadoki for it and working with it live and all kinds of other stuff. So those 3 forms are just kind of a little last polish on that. So those are the 3 forms for Ushiro Ryokata Dori. I'm Christopher Hines, Joshua Teehee. My Solana McDaniel is behind that camera right there.